All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. So, welcome to Ceph Dev Monthly, everybody. Thanks all for coming. And the first topic on our agenda is from Pon, a review request for a linked PR, which I'll share in the chat. For monitor manager, do not output network ping stats. Is Pon on the call? Here's the PR. I don't see Pon on the call. Speak up if you're here, but we can always circle back to this topic. Um, yeah, I don't see him on the call, but let me know if you're here, Pon. I do see people for the next topic, so we'll move to that one. Aviva and Orit, NVMe TCP Gateway HA. Take it away.
Hello, we have a presentation. I'll try to share. So do you see my screen, by the way?
Yeah.
Cool. Problems with sharing with every tool we use. So I'll start with a very short overview, what is NVMe Fabric, the component, and then Aviv will actually talk about our new high availability system. So what is NVMe Fabric? NVMe, non-volatile memory express, is a PCIe protocol, very fast, very scalable, but it's local. If you look deep into the spec, it looks like actually a network protocol, so it makes sense to put it over Fabric. The first versions were actually for RDMA, then for fiber channel, and NVMe TCP is the latest edition, ratified in 2018. And TCP, as we love it in Ceph, has many, many advantages. It's very standard, very common, and no need for special hardware or switches, and can support very complex topologies and can get good performance. So it's becoming more and more common in the industry. And in spite of the fact that our target can probably do other protocols, we're going to focus on NVMe over TCP and not other fabrics. Then a bit about concept in NVMe and NVMe Fabric, because we're going to use it in a presentation. Target is the target, very similar to iSCSI target. But volumes are called namespaces. That's the name. And a group of volume, a volume group, like in iSCSI, is a subsystem. It's a logical grouping of namespaces. And you can actually define for a subsystem so a listener, and it can listen on several different ports if you want to. And when an initiator or host connects to a target and a subsystem, you need to specify the subsystem. You can use connect all, but that means connect to all the subsystems in the target. He will have access to all the namespaces in that subsystem. And you can limit which host can connect to a subsystem by using a host identifier called NQM, a unique ID, or IP address. And when the host is connected to the target, there is a controller, at least one, for that host. And that's actually one of the things that makes it so scalable, because you can add controllers and have better scale. How it looks with Ceph. How it maps to Ceph, basically. So a namespace in NVMe or other fabric will map to an RBD image, one-to-one. And then the subsystem are basically a logical grouping. We would like not, and basically you can put several namespaces in one subsystem, and they will be mapped to different RBD images. And when initial connect to our target, you will get a controller. About AJ. So we already have the sort of a tech preview of the NVMe Fabric upstream, gateway, and also downstream in 7.0. We plan it to be production ready in Squid, the next version, and it will be also GAing soon. And you can, basically the gateway is a Ceph daemon. You can install it co-located with the OSDs or other Ceph daemons, or you can install it on different nodes, dedicated nodes if you want to. But default installation will be co-located. And what the gateway does is basically translate from the NVMe TCP protocol into Rados protocol. Inside, we are running basically SPDK, who implements the NVMe TCP target, and it has a module called bdevrbd that translates from NVMe commands to basically RBD commands. And librbd is translated in those to Rados. Currently, the current implementation doesn't have a high availability. We need availability, so you can lose the gateway and then you won't have any access to your data. We want it to be able to handle a gateway failure. And with high availability, we want seamless failover. So if the gateway will fail, there will be automatic failover, and basically the initiator can continue with IO without almost no interruption. Of course, for availability, we need at least 2 gateways. Otherwise, we won't have a day. I'll do this and then I'll move to Aviv. We have a new concept called a gateway group. Gateways in the same group will represent the same NVMe Fabric, NVMe subsystems and the namespaces. There will be no sharing, no namespace shared between gateway groups. It's very important for the design. The host can connect to the 2 different gateways, but because we don't want to have data integrity issues because of ND's IO, slow IOs, we are only one gateway will be allowed to do IO. And in NVMe Fabric, we have a part that's called ANA, asynchronous namespace access. In that part of the protocol, you can define the path. You can define a path as optimized, which means it's accessible and can read write. Non-optimized, it means it's still accessible, but it's probably, you should prefer always the optimized. And you have inaccessible, we mean you are connected to it, you can see it, but you cannot access read or write from it. So we'll always have one gateway where the namespace is optimized, and a pair, a gateway, another gateway that the namespace there is inaccessible. This way we can avoid data corruption in case of failover and delays, when there's a failure but gateway 1 is still running and he has pending IOs. Now Aviv, do you want to share or should I move?
Yes. So I will share. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Wow, it's very small. Just a minute.
Yeah, that's kind of how Jitsi formats it. If you prefer to have it bigger, I think you can just not do it in presentation mode.
Okay. Okay.
But we can all see it fine.
Yeah, the question is if I can see it. Okay. So, okay, so I'll continue in this way. So like Orit said, we, like if an NVMe OS initiator, it could be a VMware ES6 or it could be Linux Red Hat, is connecting in a multi-gateway mode, like we can see here in this drawing. So this is like a kind of multipath connection between the initiator and Ceph. So in this picture, what we see is that we have two gateways. So actually we have two paths between the initiator and Ceph, but we can bring up more gateways and have more passes. So we actually allow any specific namespace, like we can have a lot of namespaces, but looking at a single namespace, it will be always allowed to perform I/O only through one of the gateways. So if you look at a namespace level, it's a kind of an active standby configuration. We use the ANA specification, which is equivalent to SCSI Aloha in many ways. So we use it to control the active standby pass states, and I will talk about it later. We can define the ANA states for the inaccessible and the optimized states are actually defined for ANA groups. So an ANA group can be optimized. Optimized is the NVMe OF specification word for, but we call it active, and it could be inaccessible, and for us it's a standby. Okay, moving to the next slide. So like I said, there is the ANA groups, and ANA groups can contain many namespaces. And we can define the inaccessible or optimized per ANA group. And basically the idea of our HA solution is that at any point in time, each ANA group is optimized only on one of the gateways. Okay, so for example, what we can see here is two gateways deployment. Okay, and we have two ANA groups. So ANA group 1 and ANA group 2. And then on the second gateway, we also have ANA group 1 and ANA group 2. But you cannot access volumes on ANA group 1 from gateway 1. You can only write to volumes on ANA group 1 from gateway 2. And vice versa for ANA group 2. So this is really the basic idea here, is to always manage this state. Okay. So just an example here of possible configuration. So like if we have 400 namespaces in a single subsystem, we have a single Ceph cluster, of course, and we have two NVMe of gateways. So we will define that 200 namespaces belong to ANA group 1 and 200 namespaces belong to ANA group 2. And that's a way to get a good load balancing in good PAS-IO. Right now in the gateway CLI, we ask actually to define what is the load balancing group for the namespace that we define. But in the next versions, we will do it automatically, probably maybe even on the fly. But right now that's manually defined. And the number of ANA groups that we currently define by default is the number of gateways. Okay, this is an example of a failover scenario. So, for example, for some reason, gateway number 2 disappeared. So we want the IO to continue also to HANA group 1. And therefore, gateway 1 will actually take over HANA group 2 or HANA group 1, whatever it wasn't before. I think it was HANA group 1. So it will take over HANA group 1, and it means that we as a target will signal the initiator that the right way to write to volumes on HANA group 1 starting now is through gateway 1. I will talk about the steps that we do in failover, but this is the basic idea. Okay, in a failback scenario, so if gateway 2 restored, we are doing similar thing. We are returning the ownership on HANA group, on the HANA group that we took to gateway 1. We return it to gateway 2, and therefore it's returning to the good pass IO flow that we had before. So how do we implement it? So we actually, if you look at the right side, we added an NVMe-OF monitor. It's a Paxos service. It's running as a part of the Ceph monitor, and we also added a monitor client, which is communicating with the NVMe-OF monitor. The monitor client is sending beacons, keep alive, to the monitor, and the monitor constantly checking if it has all of the gateways that it should have. And once a gateway disappears or a gateway shows again, so we have a state machine here that decides what we should do. So, for example, if one of the gateways died, we decide here on the NVMe-OF monitor which other gateway should take over the HANA group that was optimized on the gateway that died. Okay, so actually the way that we communicate between the way that we communicate the new state is by updating NVMe-OF map. So similar to OSD map or other maps that we have, we defined an NVMe-OF map. It's getting to the monitor client, and the monitor client is using gRPC to actually tell the SPDK or the Python control here, what it should do with the SPDK configuration. So when we do failover, so we are taking some actions. First of all, we set the state of the passes that were used by the gateway to inaccessible. So we are not sure if the gateway, it's living and we don't see it, or it's really died. But as a first step, we set its passes to inaccessible to make sure that it stopped sending IOs this way. And then the second thing that we do is that we are using OSD block list. So it's a kind of a fencing mechanism. So we want to be very sure that there are no pending IOs in BDEV or in SPDK or anywhere else on that path. So we are using block list. So it's actually block listing all of the cluster contexts, the Rados cluster contexts that were used by the failing gateway to write to these namespaces. And then after that, we are allowing the taking over gateway to start doing IOs by setting the state to optimized. So all of this process, like identifying that the gateway is dead, is taking us between 6 or 8 seconds. We can configure this, and then we wait a few more seconds to do the inaccessible, the block list, and set the other gateway to optimized. So all in all, this process is like something around 15 seconds. When we are doing failback, it's behaving very similarly. The main difference is the trigger. Like in failback, the trigger is not a gateway that disappeared, but it's a gateway that we started getting beacons from. So we know that we can return some responsibility to that gateway. I think that's most of it. So thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Aviv and Orit, for that very comprehensive presentation. Does anybody have any questions about how this is working or any feedback for Orit and Aviv? If not, thank you. And if one of you is able to share the slides with me, I'll link it to the agenda so people can reference them if possible. But thank you.
Sure. I will share with you.
Thanks, guys. So the next topic, we do have Pon on the call now, so we'll go back to the PR monitor manager do not output network ping stats, and it looks like Pon is looking for a review for this PR. So do you want to kind of take us through what the PR's motivation is and what kind of feedback you're looking for?
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, so in the last meeting in December, we discussed about making a change that might be true breaking in terms of the existing Ceph PG dump command. So this is, I believe, it's much less risky in terms of breaking existing Ceph PG dump commands, like in case people are using in scripts and whatnot. So this was also like originally introduced in February 2020. I linked the commit in the PR. So it's roughly 4 years, and I also believe it's not used as much because it's only output when you request in the JSON format. So basically, this shouldn't break defaults of pgdem command. It doesn't affect, and only affects the output when you request JSON format to the output. So I just wanted to see if it's okay to go in. I think previously Radoslow looked at it closely.
Yep.
Comment.
Well, I think the main problem is not even performance. It's something worse. Limitation on scalability. Basically, the data, the network related structures, they grow quadratically with the size of cluster, with the number of OSDs in a cluster. So it might be became true nightmare for, let's say, 10,000 USD deployments. I fully agree. We need to tackle this dynamic. The only worry is about preserving the backward compatibility, because unfortunately, the change is about the format of. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't refreshed my memory. The change is simply squeezes the net pinks from the output of JSON, of the JSON output of the dump, which might be already scripted. I think it's a part of our public API. So some extra care is necessary, unfortunately. What is needed, personally, I think that it's of course the discussion around the CM. This is happening now, but maybe also an email to Ceph dev, Ceph users mailing list, simply informing the people about our intention, about change that is going to happen. What are your thoughts? Maybe simply it deserves a deprecation path, like we do from features from parts API we don't want to have anymore.
Pan, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Hi. So the slow suggestion is, if I understand correctly, like we request feedback from wider community and send email to the mailing list. Is that right?
Yes, we definitely need to make people aware if we're going to mess with this part of the scriptable operators interface. I would call that way.
Okay. Yeah, I can send an email and see if anyone thinks it would impact them.
Okay, the squid freeze is coming. I will try a question to all folks here. Should we match this? Should we publish? Should we make the change with Squid or in next release? Because if we postponing has gives more, could turn it simply into a duplication feature. Like now, duplicating the presence of this scalability limiting key in the output. Next, in next release, complete removal. What do you think, guys?
So it's important that we can get the bug fix out. I would say just have a release note that the format changed.
Yeah, I already updated the list notes. That's there.
Okay, so your stance is that we shouldn't be so paranoid about the change.
Yeah. So last time we discussed, we thought it doesn't need a warning in advance because it's going to be it's going to be done in a major release, and also the release note is going to be updated.
Okay.
Yep, he does
Let's
have
find out.
something in the pending release notes. Thanks for doing that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I posted the link to the last meeting notes minutes where you can see the minutes of what we decided in the end. I think Laura did the notes there.
And just I'm not sure if we discussed this last time, but about the network ping times, was that just removed from the command altogether and not put somewhere else, or is it still available in another command? Just that particular piece of the output.
As far as I can say, it's not used by any other command. It's only output for the PG dump. So I'm not aware of it's being accessible by other commands.
Casey and Radic, do you think that that would be a problem, like to have a, in for my opinion, I think it's fine to take it out of the command, but do you think we should make that output available in some other capacity in case somebody still wants to see it?
I would like to emphasize there are actually two related, but still separated cases. The first one is the presence of this scalability problem in a general command. Second thing is whether the information that is currently exposed, the problematic info, whether it's really relevant. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not a Ceph operator. That's a question to community. But assuming it is, we can always come with a PR. And as this will be a pure addition, it's easily backwardable. So I'm not particularly worried about potential temporal lack of this comment. If there is an interest in the community, I would expect that somebody has created a ticket on the tracker saying, "Oh, guys, it's missed. Please add it." And adding and backporting would be very, very straightforward.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So it looks like this PR with the pending release notes, it's gone through several rebases. So I think if we agree that the fix is logically makes sense, I think the next step would just be to approve it and send it to QA. So I will take care of doing that. I'll do a full review of it, comprehensive, but I think the overall idea is approved, right? Or that makes sense to everybody, and I think it can, aside from any smaller things like formatting or syntax, I think it's ready to go to QA.
Looks like we've got the consensus.
Cool. I'll take care of making the final review, Pon. Thanks for your contribution.
Thanks for tackling this.
Cool. Glad to take care of that scalability issue. Were there any final comments on this topic? I don't want to move to the last one unless there's anything else people want to discuss.
One more thing, can you hear me?
You're a little bit faint.
Okay. Yeah, regarding the last issue, I'm not sure if it was discussed last time, but would it make should make sense to add a configurable? That's one of the obvious solutions. If people do want to see the network ping stack, would it make sense to add a configurable to enable that? I don't know if that was discussed with any way or not. The last video.
Like an extra a flag or something to that command.
A config option, basically. Option that'll enable the yeah.
I see. That does make sense. Radic, do you think that kind of falls into your idea of something that can be taken care of in a part 2 and backported?
I think so. It could be. The most important thing is to achieve the consensus on the change of the publicly exposed interface. That's the crucial thing. How we provide the missed information, if it's still relevant, if it's still necessary, that's the part of the of a second story.
I think what we
Well,
can do.
configuration could do.
What was that?
A configurable could do.
I think what we can do for that is, since there are several, sounds like configurable would work, but several design considerations, we can test this, part one, get this part in, and raise a tracker for part two, so that can be taken care of, but so we can also track that we want to evaluate that part.
Agreed. The most important thing is to not have this problematic info by default in the output of a general command like pgdump.
Cool. All right, I'll take care of raising our part two tracker. And Pon, would you be okay to take a look at that second part and consider a configurable or some other design?
Yeah, sure. If you have a different plan, and then if you guys tackle, then I can definitely take a look.
Cool.
Cool. I think that Streetcar has proposed a way to have to not miss the information if somebody still needs it in the cluster. Fine with that.
I like that idea. All right. So our final topic is from Yuval about end-to-end tracing, and he has the PR linked here, which I'll share. Go ahead and take that away, Yuval.
Hi, thank you. So there are two parts to what I want to raise. First of all is the fact that the PR is there, and my question is, what could be done to make sure that this PR goes before the feature freeze of Squid? Because the problem is that the PR changes something with the wire protocol, and it is using the Squid feature bit, and if it doesn't go in now, then it means it will have to use the next feature bit. So, and that took quite a long time last time. So I suspect that if it doesn't go now, then it might take another year for this feature to actually move on. I've asked a question before in the forum of the core team. What kind of test should I run? But because I'm not really part of the core team, it's very difficult for me to review the test results, and I would need help there.
Okay, so sounds that the test that runs are performed. It's all about interpretation and making the final decision, right? Sorry, there's some noise from Avi.
Aviv, you've got a hot mic.
Yes, sorry.
Hello, sorry, Radek, I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, I understood that that all tests are already scheduled. There we have the result. It's only about the matter. It's only in the interpretation of the result and making the final call.
Oh, okay, I see. So the tests are already running, and it's just a matter of making sure they're passing and everything is fine. There were a couple of tests that I ran, and those were the Ceph upgrade tests, because this was what initially found the issue with the breakage of the protocol. I don't know. I asked the Ceph guys to have a look there. Maybe they can verify that this is passing, because this was what was breaking before. So it would be great if we can verify these are okay now.
Okay, so you need some things from two different teams. The ZFS upgrade test review, plus a review of our radio suite, right?
Yes. Yes.
Understood. Okay, we can do that. I think we also should consider this as a blocker for Squid.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. Now, being optimistic, assuming this is actually going to Squid, the next thing I said is that I will schedule like a code walkthrough and some kind of a tech talk about that. But the thing about tracing is, it's somewhat like logging. I won't be able to do tracing for all the places that they're needed, especially not on the OS3, but not in general. People should add traces as they need, or as they implement new features that they think requires tracing. Like the whole concept was, my idea was to put in place enough blueprints or examples of uses, so people would know how to use the tracing framework for whatever they want. So this is like my initial shout out to people, that once the end-to-end tracing is in, then it should be used. For example, currently when I say end-to-end, it's only RGW to OSD, but because that's gonna be part of the Redis API, then any other client could implement that as well. So the blueprints are there, showing how the RGW is using that as a Redis client, but other clients should hopefully adopt this. As I said, once this goes in, I'm gonna make some more formal kind of promotion of the feature. But hopefully, this kind of forum is also people that might be interested in tracing and would like to use it in the future in their work. That's all for me.
Thanks, Yuval. I'm excited to have the RGW bits. I did request a review from the core team, specifically on the messenger pieces. But the rest of the RGW stuff has already been reviewed.
Yeah, thanks. Just one note, as people might be looking at the code again. This PR is out there for a very long time. There have been lots of performance reviews of the PR. So before you kind of ask questions and ask for raising concerns regarding performance, please talk to me or to other people involved in the PR, because there already has been substantial testing and performance testing of the feature.
Can you link that from the PR?
Sorry, again?
There's no. Can you put that testing information on the PR? There's no reference to it at all on GitHub. I think if you go through a long enough chain of older closed PRs, there might be something posted somewhere. But
okay, so I'll add that to the latest PR. Okay.
Yeah. Let's have everything in one place.
Sure.
Yeah, just with if you want specific. Also, I was going to ask, are the test results that you ran recent, or does it need to be done on a fresh run at all? Basically, like if it was done a while ago, we might need to do. It might be worth doing just a fresh run, but I'm not sure how recent your results are.
The runs that we had, there was quite a bit of a test matrix there. So, please bear in mind that the most important test for the feature is to test there's no regression when the feature is disabled. Because when tracing is enabled, then there could be some extra cost, and that makes sense. I would link the old results, but I agree, they're from a while back. It's not that the code changed so much. The main thing that changed was the only thing that changed in the past year was the fact that we added the squid feature beat. But if we have time, again, if Radix said this is a squid blocker, I'm not sure how much time we have. If we have time and we can have another set of fresh perf tests, then that'd be great. But I don't want this to prevent from this feature to go in.
Okay. And so you mentioned like the Rados suite was run and RGW and upgrades.
Yeah, I mean, I myself ran Redis Verify, RGW, Redis Upgrade, and Ceph Upgrade. But again, if there are other runs that are scheduled, I don't know about that.
Okay, I'll take a look at what you ran and see how recent it is and make that judgment. But it looks like it's good that you got it in testing initially, so we can have an idea of that. And it looks like it just needs some. I agree with the people that asked just to summarize exactly what you need reviewed at the bottom of the PR, just because it's so long and has a lot of comments.
Yeah, I'll add the performance piece of this.
Thank you.
Okay, so in my understanding, it's mostly about just review of the test results of the tautology runs. Because I recall this PR was reviewed very intensively due to the regression of encoding. So I don't expect any new things popping up related to actually the code, its code base. It's just about review of basically final review, final look on the review. Final look on the tautology results.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
Sounds good. Looks like you've tagged the right people too, so we'll be sure to take a look once you have that, all the links that you want us to review. Thanks. Any additional comments on this PR in general, or overall on any of the topics we covered today? All right. If not, I'd say this is a very productive meeting. So thanks everybody for your comments and input. And I appreciate everybody taking some time to discuss stuff. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. And thanks for a great meeting.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks all.